At first, I was ready to write off this skin as another clone or unoriginal design, maybe copying something out of another game like Dota or something, but after seeing the name and doing a bit of research on it, it's actually a lot more creative and interesting than you might think, and works amazingly on Kukulkan. See, there are two polar vortices on the planet found in the northern and southern hemispheres above the Arctic. During winter, the air gets dangerously cold, far too cold for a human to be there for too long, or any respectable amount of time, without, dying. In other words, nearing 110 degrees below zero at the northern hemisphere. Just to put that into context, the average person can usually withstand living with a body temperature of just below 21 degrees Celsius or 70 degrees Fahrenheit. After that, death may be immediately imminent or just imminent, depending on how accustomed to the cold that person may be. Add some contrasting pressure into the mix, and you get extremely fast winds, deadly fast, which swirls around a massive pocket of freezing air. That's just the northern hemisphere. Its southern counterpart is even colder, sports faster winds, and so these deadly cyclones are not just something we'd want to run into or come across on a daily basis. Or well, on any sort of basis really. These cyclones operate just above poles between the troposphere and the stratosphere, or at least if you could see a vortex from a side view, you might think that that's roughly how it appears. During the summer months, the polar vortex is weakest and strongest during the winter months. As you might expect, strong winds trap the cold air in the Arctic, keeping the northern hemisphere the perfect temperature. The vortex is far from perfect, though. Troughs mark areas where cold reaches away from the pole, and ridges define where warm air edges closer to it. The swift winds that build up the pole's vortex's outer shell can change in intensity. If the outer winds become too diminished, then areas in the world that wouldn't usually experience extreme colds or unacceptably freezing temperatures will experience those temperatures. These cold snaps mark times that the temperature plummets and are thought to be responsible for the decline in 90% of one state in America's citrus plant, and at another point cause the deaths of at least 126 people in another state. So yes, this is very dangerous stuff. You might even think it to be the work of the god. Kukulkan was a god of 4 elements, a creator god and a god of reincarnation. His elements were represented by a lizard, being fire, a vulture, being air, a fish, being water, and Mazir, being earth. His dominance over the winds seems to be the most relevant attribute of him, and he also bestowed learning and laws onto man, proving himself to be merciful and violent towards us, in keeping with his changing nature. Legend tells of a Caucasian robed man with blonde hair and a beard who gave the Mayan people essential knowledge of agriculture, medicine, and mathematics, as well as astronomy as well. This was believed to be Kukulkan. The god also warned the people of another bearded man who would come and conquer their lands and introduce a new dominant religion that would replace their own. Despite this great warning, the Mayan people welcomed the new invaders as Quetzalcoatl. There are several legends about a mysterious bearded man that appears across Mesoamerica. Kukulkan once sprouted out from the ocean and disappeared into it later, but he made a promise to return someday, but did not tell of when that day might come. Sort of sounds a lot like another figure from another religion that actually replaced this one. Okay, I know Jesus didn't exactly have blonde hair probably, and he definitely wasn't Caucasian, or at least we don't think that he was, historically at least. I feel like I'm stepping into a can of worms that I'd prefer to step away from, so I think I'm going to do that and get back to Kukulkan here. So who's to say that this skin isn't just a return of Kukulkan himself in the game in a nice frosty form? Or, just its own thing and a new skin for Kukulkan. Either way, it doesn't fit another god better than Kukulkan, I don't think. The lines reference some of the things that we've talked about, like cold snaps.
How do you applaud at a poetry slam for frost dragons? Cold snaps.
And how deadly the cold can be.
Don't worry, being frozen is very painful.
The animations are very fitting, over the top, icy winds, though the ultimate could have sounded a bit more deadly and threatening. It's a bit underwhelming, I think. You should be able to get your hands on this skin either today, tomorrow, or soon enough. And it's fairly well done, right down to the fur coat that Kuli's sporting in the card art. At least, it's a lot more visible in the card art than in the actual in-game model, but that happens all across the game, and it's still a very nice touch and attention to detail there for the lore behind the skin. And to really be a thing, Hyro should really give us a little, just a few sentences on a bit about the skin somewhere. Or if they do, it would be nice if that was pointed out to me. But yeah. If I had to guess, then I'd say that this skin is probably responsible for all of these icy winds and polar vortices, hence why it's called Polar Vortex. Or perhaps it's a polar vortex itself, which is why it's called Polar Vortex. Or maybe it's born from these polar vortices. But I like the first one out of all of those suggestions first, purely because of his voice pack. It's an old manish voice, and if he's been around for some time and he's the creator of all these polar vortices, then, well, he might be aged a little, might have a more, mature voice than what Kukulkan usually has. That, and Kukulkan was a creator deity, so it's not stirring too far from his actual Mayan mythology there as well. But those are just my thoughts. What do you think the origin of this skin is, its backstory? Tell me But those are just some thoughts I was having. What do you think the actual origin or backstory lore behind this skin is? The actual lore itself, not Kukulkan's lore. Go ahead and tell me your origin story for this skin in the comments below. But that's pretty much why the Kukulkan skin is called Polar Vortex, or the lore behind what exactly the polar vortices are. So I hope that you enjoyed this video and found it interesting. If you did, go ahead and leave a like, and of course subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. It's been a while since we've done another skin lore video, so I hope that you don't miss the series too much. And until the next video, have a very good day. I have been Prime, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.